And joining me now from Boston is Max Abrahms, a security and terrorism expert, author of Rules for Rebels. Max, before I come to you, let me just tell our viewers that Max also received an invitation to meet the Indian all-party delegation headed for the United States of America under the leadership of Member of Parliament Shashi Tharoor. Max, thank you so much for joining us here on the network. A very big moment for India, a very important one, a delegation being led by Shashi Tharoor. You'll be meeting them. What the focus for India is going to be terrorism. You are an expert on terrorism. Tell us exactly where India and Pakistan really stand and where are they positioned when it comes to this issue of terrorism emanating from Pakistan.
Well, first of all, I'm very honored to meet with this high-level delegation. I'm particularly interested in the subject matter as a student of both terrorism and India's security. So the main thing that I'm going to do is just listen. I know that the delegation has important information to share, and I'm going to listen closely to learn from the delegation to better understand the conflict. I think that the United States in general is very much on board with India and India's response to the April 22nd massacre. Personally, I very much approve of the way that India handled the attack. It didn't, rush to counterstrike immediately. It had a very sort of reasonable, calculated response where the goal was to attrit the terrorist groups as well as to send a message to these groups that it cannot attack Indian civilians with impunity, that there will be costs to pay for perpetrating terrorism, as well as to communicate a secondary message to Pakistan that it cannot be a state sponsor of terrorism, or else India is going to respond in a very serious way, while at the same time being mindful not to needlessly escalate the conflict in such a way that it would spiral, mindful that Pakistan is also a nuclear power. And so
That's
I
right.
think that India did a really good job of balancing these tricky objectives.
Right, Max, but also the fact that these were terror targets. Now, India has been fighting terrorism and Pakistan has been a very, very difficult neighbor. Yet, what's your reading and assessment of DC's reaction to this entire conflict? Because instead of focusing on the fact that Pakistan has been the state sponsor of terrorism, the world has been focusing on de-escalation and why India should de-escalate rather than focusing on terrorism and Pakistan. It's not just the United States of America, it's the world. The reason why it seems that India has had to send these all-party delegations to various world capitals.
Well, I don't think that the delegation is going to find in any way a disagreement from the American audience. I think that India's handling of the terrorist attack was very exemplary. You are correct that oftentimes what happens is there's a horrible terrorist attack, and then the target country responds. And the international community's criticisms and concerns focus on the counterterrorism response rather than the terrorism which precipitated it. But I don't really see India getting criticized in this area, particularly because its counterterrorism response was very selective in its use of violence. It really focused on the terrorist camps and other military targets and spared the population. And that makes a counterterrorism response more popular around the world.
Right. Max, we just have very little time. So before I let you go, Pakistan is also sending a delegation. And Bilawal Bhutto Zardari could be in D.C. What do you think is the kind of engagement that D.C. will accord to Bilawal Bhutto Zardari? And if it is at a very high level, how do you then read a comparison, a hyphenation of India and Pakistan?
Well, I can really only guess what that conversation will be like, but I suspect that Pakistan will try to distance itself from the terrorist attack on April 22nd. It will try to convince Washington that actually Pakistan is a strong ally when it comes to counterterrorism and try to build that bilateral relationship with Washington, D.C. So I think that the message from India and Pakistan will naturally be very different. I've only been invited to be party to the conversation between the US and India, perhaps because I'm known for being pro India.
All right, Max Abrahams, thank you so much for joining us. This is an exclusive conversation with one of the first people who got an invitation to meet with the all-party delegation headed to the United States of America, led by Shashi Tharoor.